are making waffles, and I am going to go over the ingredients. This is the Turbinado sugar. I love this sugar. It's truly has like a luscious brown sugary kind of flavor, molasses flavor. This is old-fashioned buttermilk and the baking soda, baking powder, and salt, a couple of eggs. And this is the magic ingredient, chia seeds. The chia seeds are going to make this beautiful jam without any pectin. And so it's just an easy refrigerator jam that you can make out of frozen berries, butter, which will eventually be melted, and the zest and juice of one lemon. And then the flour, I use Bob's 1-to-1 because I'm gluten-free, but you can use whatever flour that you like. And I also need vanilla. I like the bourbon vanilla from Trader Joe's. This is a great deal right there if you have a Trader Joe's in your area. And then maple syrup. Of course, I like the dark maple syrup. And you can use honey or sugar if you don't have maple syrup. Frozen berries, just mixed berries. This is great for just pulling berries out of your freezer and making a beautiful jam. And that is the ingredients for our buttermilk waffles today. The first thing you want to do is put your pan, your saucepan over like a medium-high heat and add the maple syrup. And then give that a stir to combine everything. I cook this mixture over medium-high because I'm impatient and I just want the berries to break down, so that's what I'm trying to do here. I don't think I put it on camera, but I did add a tiny pinch of salt, just because a teeny tiny pinch of salt in sweet things really brings out the sweetness. So when you get to this point where your berries are, pretty much totally cooked through and you're getting that rolling boil, I took a potato masher, but you could use an immersion blender if you had one. You could just run it through a food processor or blender, but I kind of like my jam a little bit chunky, so that potato masher works great. And then I start adding the chia seeds. Now, this is not a perfect recipe because depending on what berries you use, it will depend on how much chia seeds that you use. So the juice, how much juice is in your berries is going to depend. But you can't hardly go wrong here. You don't want to add too many, but I would say 4 to 5 tablespoons total. And you're just looking for that kind of a consistency. It's still a little thin, but I added lemon zest, and that's the best way to do it. Just go around the lemon and one pass. You don't want to get that bitter pith that's underneath the skin. So just pass your microplane one time over the lemon, knock it into the berries, and squeeze the juice in there. And that'll give it a little bit of balance. So you have the sweet and the acidity in the lemon, and it just makes for a lovely, almost like a compote at this point, and give it a stir. Now I ended up adding another tablespoon of chia seeds, so 4 in total for me for this project. And then when it's slightly cooled, I put it into some jars that you can keep in your fridge. Probably for a couple weeks, it should be good. Now, what makes these buttermilk waffles so light and fluffy is the egg whites. Really whipping your egg whites is what really adds the lightness to your waffles. So make sure that your mixing bowl is completely clean with no traces of oil. If you ever have problem making your whites really voluminous, and if for some reason they just don't whip up, it could be that you have a trace of oil in your bowl, and egg whites do not like oil. So I just mix this on high, and you can see the transformation here as you start to get the beaters showing a path through the eggs. That's when you know you're starting to get there. Now, these may have been just slightly a little stiffer than I would like. I actually would like maybe a little bit more of a soft peak, and this is definitely a firm, dry sort of peak, but it's going to go ahead and work for this situation. So I add the flour, the sugar, baking powder, salt, and baking soda, and then the buttermilk. And what I found here is that the recipe calls for 1.5 cups of buttermilk, but the Bob's Red Mill flour seemed like it needed a little bit more, so I ended up adding 2 cups. If you use regular flour, I would say go ahead and just add the 1.5 cups for this recipe. And then the vanilla and the eggs, and I mixed them all together and added the melted butter and gave that a stir. Now, I'm not too worried about overmixing the batter with gluten-free flour, but there, you see, I thought it was a little stiff, so I added the other 1/2 cup of buttermilk. Now, if you're using regular flour, you don't want to overmix, so this next step is important. You're going to fold the egg whites into the batter. You do this by cutting in the center of the mixture with your spatula and turning the bowl. So you're cutting through and turning over and over. And you're just lightening that batter. You're just making it very fluffy. And that's what you're going for. Now, this is the waffle maker I'm using. It was a gift to me. And when the ready light is green, you are ready to go. Now, I've never actually used a waffle maker in my life. This is my first time ever in my whole life. And you just wait till it's ready to go, and it needs to be hot. The iron does need to be hot. Strike why the iron's hot is a thing. And I just put that in there, clicked it closed, and let it go. There's a lot of steam coming out of this one, and a little bit of bubbling there on the side. And this is the first batch that I made. Isn't it pretty? I was like, oh, these look good. So I was happy. And I noticed I didn't quite get that square look. But if you like this rounded look, then just don't fill the waffle iron all the way. Dusting with a little powdered sugar. You could stop there and eat them. But of course we made this lovely jam. Now this jam had only really cooled down for maybe, I don't know, half an hour or so in the fridge. But it still was perfect for these waffles at this point. They were very tender and very light and very fluffy. So the second batch, I thought, I'm going to try to make them a little fuller. And sure enough, I got that beautiful square that we think of the quintessential waffle to be. And then added just a little bit of the unsalted butter. This is like I did the triple threat here, y'all. The beautiful jam, the sprinkle of powdered sugar, and then a little drizzle of maple syrup. And it was so delicious, you guys. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. There's ways that you can do it by leaving me a tip in my tip jar. It's in the description box in my PayPal link. You can visit my Amazon shop. And otherwise, please just subscribe, hit the notification bell, so then you will know when I am making more cooking videos just for you. Thanks for coming along, you guys, and I can't wait for the next one. Bye-bye.